Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If this is your first time, do consider hitting that old subscribe button. Today we are actually revisiting a layout that we talked about a few months ago, and actually this was filmed a few months ago. We are revisiting my parents' actual garden layout, and this is, it hasn't grown much since we last saw it, but it has definitely been, I guess you could call it refined, though honestly the last time we filmed it, it was right after a big storm, so I'm not sure that's a fair assessment. But as you can see here, the suspension bridge is all together. We'll get back to that here in a few moments. And their little drawbridge here is actually working pretty well. Today we're going to be running this, the Sioux, I believe that, is that an, I don't know which locomotive that is, that's an S2. I don't remember exactly which classification that is. But nevertheless, what we're going to do is we're going to follow this train around the track here. I've got a couple different angles and a couple different filming methods, including this drone footage here that I actually filmed, which was a ton of fun. One of the first things that I filmed with the drone, so sorry if it's a little janky in that regard. It was an early attempt. But back to our standard steady cam here. We've got, as steady as it gets, so, as you can see, the loop here at the bottom, if you reference back to the first video, has actually been kind of handled a little bit differently. They've added some more buildings. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a moment. But a lot of repair work had to be done down there because I think last time we filmed, it was just covered up with weeds and everything. We now have this little church down here. You got a little gazebo. Got some, don't have any flowers in the plants yet. This was filmed in May, so a lot of this is just greenery, but definitely a drastic improvement over what we filmed back in February, and obviously being spring, you would kind of expect that. Now this was all filmed as part of the Georgia Garden Railroad Society, and they were doing a basically a weekend excursion. I believe it was just that day specifically, but they were doing an excursion where you could check out several different people's layouts. Now, what's really awesome here, this huge, and I mean it is an absolutely massive trestle system here, is all hand-built. And you'll actually see one of the demo units up here shortly. Very, very, very impressive building. I believe made entirely out of cedar, if I recollect. All square dowels, very, very, very robust. This is actually, in the first layout that they built at their old house, there was something very similar, but not to this scale. This scale is absolutely insane. And it took him, I don't know how many months to complete. It was just unbelievable. General Lee in the gas station there. And there was earlier in the shot, there's a little pickle barn. And as we scoot around here, you'll actually see a, I forget what that 080, I think? I can't remember exactly. But from the Little Miami Railroad. And that's actually, no, not Florida, you would imagine. It's actually Ohio, funny enough, Western Ohio. I love seeing like this handcrafted stuff on these layouts. It's just, it's really unique. Brings just to me like an element of not even DIY, just like craftsmanship to such a project as this. But the Sioux circles around the outside, or well, the trains in general, circle around the outside, circle around that tree there, and then come back around the city and, or village, I guess. It's really a city. I think town's even a bit of a strong word for it. But circles back around, and you can see the kind of the double loop there. Actually, it's a triple loop on the inside, and the outer loop unfortunately wasn't running that day. They had some electrical issues with the locomotive. Now we'll get to actually how this is. A lot of you guys have asked in the past, how is this powered and all that stuff. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the locomotive there, the Little Miami, was actually having some power related issues at that point. So by the time we had gotten there, unfortunately, the outer loop was no longer running. But they can run the outer loop with the inner loops. But the inner loop, of course, leads back out to the trestle work, and it goes down a fairly steep grade, but I believe it's still 2, maybe 2.5%. It's It's not an insane grade, but I just love watching the trains go down this, especially this slow motion shot here. Sorry if it's a bit desaturated there. That's just nature of the slow motion camera, and of course technological limitations. But I love watching it go down go down and of course back up this. I guess you could call it a helix. It kind of sort of is a helix, I suppose. And then leading back out to the back of the backyard. And of course, we head here into they call it the barn. It's a shed, and back out. So now, unlike I believe last time, I don't think it was actually running, but it's now through and through. And we'll go look at that workshop area here in a moment. Now, this is still a work in progress, but you can see that they're working on the elevation here. Now, this will not be trestled. I think this is pretty close to the final idea, but there are some pieces here that are being modified a little bit, stuff that worked great, some stuff that maybe didn't so much. We've been back there a couple of times, and of course the kids absolutely love this. I've got two little ones, and they find the trains are just, the coolest thing ever. Of course, we have our layout here in the house, but a big garden railroad like this is a whole other animal. But of course, that's the level of upkeep that I don't have the time for, frankly, and we don't even have room for it in our property, so yeah, more power to my folks for being able to do this. And of course, it takes them, I don't know how many years, 10 years, 12 years, I don't know. They've been working at this for a really, really, really long time. And of course, we're back in the tool shed here, and you'll see the train is now exiting. And we'll go over here. We'll have a quick talk about how these are powered, because this was one of the big questions we got. These are battery operated. Now, when I take the boxcar off here very gently, you will see that there is a spot there, a little gray taped area there, where you would normally put a battery. It's, I believe, a 12 volt. I forget how many amps, but it's a 12 volt battery of some sort. And of course, it's got a control module, got a speaker. I'll gently lay the boxcar back together here, or attempt to gently lay it back together there. And it's all powered. Oop. Oh, that's okay. Well, no one will ever know. That will be our little secret. No one will. I'll just set this over here for. Yeah, there we go. Nice and gentle. No one will be any the wiser till they come in here and find the whole thing disassembled. Nevertheless, it is then, of course, wired straight to the locomotive through these cables. A lot like, we work in HO, so a lot like a lot of the HO steam and stuff like that, where, you have the cable there. And honestly, when it's running, as you can see here, you can definitely see it when you're paying attention to it, but by and large, you just don't even notice. It's just a thing. Now, I did get reprimanded for not noticing this at first. Of course, they have the Duke boys on the other side of the layout. So over here, we've got Roscoe P. Coltrane and his 1978 Dodge Monaco. A lot of you guys have also talked about this drawbridge. This drawbridge is very, very cool. It's all hand assembled. It's all hand built. And it is actually a working suspension bridge. Everything you see there is all, I forget what the chain is made out of, but it's some kind of a chain that they use. And it actually is a working suspension bridge. When you do not have all those chain links in place, it droops. It is a functioning, working suspension bridge. It's very, very cool. So let's just follow the train around here for a little bit, enjoy the actual just layout, enjoy the train running, and just have a really good time with this. I can't get enough of this. When you'll see a bunch of chairs strewn around, and I can't tell you how many times we just come out here and just watch the train for like hours on end. Basically, well, where we're at, 2 or 3 batteries in the sitting. It's so much fun. And once again, if y'all are enjoying this, make sure you hit the little thumbs up button. It helps the channel. I plan to do some more visitation here shortly. We'll cover layouts of all different sorts. I've got a few other people here locally that have layouts that we need to check out too. Up to and including that the 2-rail O-scale group that's right here in my town. That'd be a lot of fun. So for now, I suppose that is it. So just remember that growing old may be inevitable, growing up may be optional, but playing trains, that is mandatory.